City Council is hereby called to order at 6 p.m. on April 26th of the year 2016. The invocation will be led by Ann Buck, the Executive Director of the Christian Women's Job Corps, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Fire Chief Danny Smith. Those in attendance may rise if you wish.
Let us pray. Blessed Heavenly Father, you are the creator of heaven and earth. You are above all and see all. Please oversee this meeting. May your truth be made known in every decision and every discussion this evening. May you bless this council, our community, our state, and show your undeserved mercy on our country. May we return to a focus on your will and not our own. May truth be made known and deception revealed. Father, I ask that you protect our servicemen and women locally and abroad. Protect our military, our police, our firemen, and our emergency responders as they bring order out of chaos and comfort in the midst of catastrophe. Give us eyes to see and ears to hear you as we go about our business tonight. And to you we give all praise and all glory and all honor and all our attention. We pray this in the only name that is above all names, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Will you join me in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Ann, for getting us started. Please have a seat.
Yep.
Item number 1 on the agenda is the Visitors and Citizens Forum. Any citizen with business not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the City Council. Prior to speaking, each speaker must fill out the speaker request form and give it to the City Secretary to your far left. City Council may not discuss or take any action on an item, but may place the issue on a future agenda. The number of speakers will be limited to the first 10 speakers, and each speaker is limited to 4 minutes. I don't have any speaker request form. Is any citizen like to be heard on this Visitor Citizens Forum? Any citizen? Having heard none, Visitor Citizens Forum is hereby closed. I have some proclamations and some recognitions. Is there anyone here from the Lupus Foundation? Lupus is a proclamation. Whereas lupus is a chronic autoimmune and one of the most mysterious diseases that can damage any part of the body, such as skin, joints, and or organs inside the body, by the autoimmune system, producing antibiotics to cells within the body, leading to widespread inflammation and tissue damage, and belief that something is wrong. And whereas approximately 1.5 million people in the United States are living with lupus, of which 90% of people diagnosed with the disease are women in childbearing years, and as many as 1 in 250 people may develop lupus. And whereas lupus can be difficult to diagnose because its symptoms are similar to those of any other illness, and major gaps exist in understanding the causes and consequences. And whereas attention needs to be called for people locally and around the world to unite in support of individuals, families, friends, and communities affected by this disease financially, physically, socially, and emotionally, and to renew our commitment to finding a cure and improving the well-being and quality of life. And whereas Lupus Awareness Month encourages all citizens to learn more about lupus and to work together to raise awareness of this silent epidemic and treatment of lupus among the residents of our city, our state, and around the world. Now I, Jack Pratt, Mayor of the City of Kerrville, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Lupus Awareness Month, and in the city encourage all citizens to wear purple on May 15th, 2016, to raise awareness and rally public support to help solve the mystery of lupus. It's signed by me this day.
Yes.
Step up. This is also a proclamation, whereas the Big Give SA is a 24-hour day of online giving from midnight to midnight on May the 3rd, 2016, to raise funds for area nonprofits. And whereas the 2016 Big Give SA is part of the Give Local America 24-hour crowdfunding event that allows every person in the community to give back to the community with donations as little as $10. And whereas the Big Give SA's premiere last year raised more than $4.3 million, twice the targeted amount. And whereas this year, the Big Give SA has expanded to include nonprofits in the city of Kerrville, as well as all of Kerr, Kendall, Atacosa, Bandera, Bear, Comal, Frio, Gillespie, Gonzales, Guadalupe, Carnes, Kendall, Medina, Wilson, and Uvalde counties. That was a breathful. And whereas nearly 40 nonprofits in Kerrville and Kerr County are participating in the Big Give SA to raise funds to help local causes. Now therefore, I, Jack Pratt, Mayor of the City of Kerrville, Texas, do hereby proclaim May 3rd, 2016 as Big Give's SA Day in Kerrville, Texas, and do hereby urge all the citizens of our community to join with their local nonprofits to participate in the Big Give SA. I give this to you, Paul.
Jack.
And why don't you come over here and y'all can hold that together.
All right.
Thank you. Let's give him a hand. This next proclamation, whereas the first Continental Congress first acted with prayer, and whereas Americans throughout generations turned to their Maker in prayer, and whereas in exaltation and in thanksgiving, in repentance, in prayer, we acknowledge both our dependence on the Almighty God and the grace and mercy that He offers each of us. And whereas in good times and bad times, we seek and pray for God's presence, His power, blessings, and His protection, freedom and peace for families, our children, ourselves, and for our beautiful city, state, and country. And whereas our country, while seeking independence and liberty, recognized God as the author of freedom, blessed us with liberty. Now therefore, I, Jack Pratt, Mayor of the City of Kerrville, Texas, do hereby proclaim May 5th, 2016 as National Day of Prayer, and invite the citizens of Kerrville and Kerr County to give thanks in accordance with their own faiths and our many freedoms and blessings that we enjoy.
Amen.
Meg, you want to step forward? Here's a lady that really works hard. This is a resolution in commendation. Whereas Meg Scott-Johnson has served as a member of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with the date of service beginning March 27, 2012. And whereas Meg Scott-Johnson has served faithfully and dutifully on said board. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Kerrville, Kerr County, Texas, that Meg Scott-Johnson be recognized for outstanding service as a member of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and that on behalf of the citizens of Kerrville, as well as for ourselves individually, we wish to express our sincere appreciation for our contributions to the city and our great community. This is passed and signed by all members of the council. Thank you very much.
Meg.
I'll keep an eye on Carver Park and Schultz Park.
All right. Don't forget Louis Hayes Park. And
Many eyes.
Bye.
I don't need to go up here. The next one is recognition of Kerrville Fire Department Division Chief Tony Lenard for 32 years of service. Chief, turn it over to you.
Mayor, members of council, it is an honor and a privilege for me to recognize an individual that's affectionately known in our department as one of the Kerrville Fire Department's bravest. I've had the opportunity to work with him for the past 20 months, and I can honestly say that he exemplifies the highest level of professionalism and commitment in everything that he does. The person I speak of is whom you announced, Division Chief Tony Lenard. Chief Lenard has worked at every rank in the Kerrville Fire Department. He started his career in 1984 as an entry-level firefighter, served as a driver operator, lieutenant, battalion chief, and the last 18 months as an administrative division chief. And while in those roles, he's clearly made a significant contribution not only to this city, but to the Kerrville Fire Department. He has provided leadership to our special operations and water ops teams, as well as training and emergency management. Chief Lenard is really a rare commodity. In today's society, it's rare that one person gets to do something consistently for 32 years, but it's equally rare to find someone who does it as well as Chief Lenard has done it for the past 32 years. So I want to take this opportunity to thank him for his dedication and commitment and for all that he's done, not only for this city, but for the Kerrville Fire Department. Please join us, Chief Lenard.
I also want to add that he served on the ACOG repack committee and did a great job there too. Thank you. Can you say or sing?
I'm not gonna sing.
Oh, okay.
Sure. You don't want me to sing.
Yes.
It's been an honor and a privilege to serve this community and this department. And when I say this department, these men over here in blue and the chief, and it's just, that's it. I'm just blessed that I was able to do it all these years. I was blessed that at the end of every shift, everybody that worked for me went home. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty healthy myself. So that's, thank you.
Thank you. Would you come up here, please? And while we're taking this picture, let's recognize his wife. She
Yes,
put up the-
there you go. Tony.
When a person spends that much time with one organization, you can bet their spouses serve too. Thank you. Next one. No, we're gonna take a picture.
I appreciate you remembering my wife. I don't think I did.
I bet.
Tony, aren't you gonna hang around for one more meeting?
Barbecue or something.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, items A through F. Do I have a motion to approve items A through F as presented?
Mayor, could we take 3F off, please?
We can take 3F off. Can I have a motion to approve items 3A through 3E as presented?
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item 3F is professional services agreement with John Hewitt Engineering, Inc. to perform design and construction phase services for the development of aquifer storage and recovery well, commonly referred to as ASR well number 3, and site improvements in an amount not to exceed $112,300.
Hi.
Christine?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an item that has been on your CIP list for some time. It is a redesign of a well. We are looking at siting the location near the reuse pond so that it can be used for future direct potable reuse. This contract in front of you does have 2 siting locations in case we do drill a test pilot well and it does not produce, because there are some areas over there in that area that have produced less than we would like to see. That gives us the opportunity to move it to another location before we get into design services. Again, the contract is in a not to exceed amount of $112,000. John Hewitt, our engineer, is here if you have any questions for him. Otherwise, we would ask that you approve this tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
My-
Any questions?
Yes, my question is very simple. It says the pipeline to connect the well to the distribution system, and I understand that it's in the CIP and it's going to be a great thing. So why now? I know that from our meetings prior, we're not going to have use for this for about 6 years, according to your words.
This again was an ASR that was previously slated, and we do have the extra water capacity if the river is flowing at good levels.
At its current level.
At its current level after a nice rain, to be able to store additional water, and we could store in here. The reason we are citing this near the reuse pond is for that future direct potable reuse connection.
But it would be used sooner than that. That was my question.
We could use it sooner than that, yes, ma'am.
I mean, we will use it sooner than that would be my. In
if
other
it
words,
rains.
Okay, so we'll have to construct a distribution line from there to the water treatment plant?
There's actually a distribution line that is close
Okay.
to that over off of Spur 100, and so we could tie into the existing system. The way our ASR wells work is once we pump the water out, just like a ground well, we're able to chlorinate that water and then stick it into the distribution system without taking it back to the water plant.
Okay, that's what I didn't understand. I thought
Yes,
this
ma'am.
was strictly for the future DPR.
The
use.
design is for the future where we're slating it, but we can use it as an ASR and groundwater prior to that.
Okay.
As previously discussed in budget and CIP
Yes, sir.
meetings. Okay, any other questions? Okay, then I ask for a motion for approval of item 3F as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 4A, resolution number 10-2016, granting a conditional use permit for an approximate 1.36 acre tract of land out of the Samuel Wallace Survey number 112, abstract 360, within the city of Kerrville, Kirk County, Texas, and otherwise known as 2014 Memorial Boulevard. Said tract located within the E-31 zoning district. By permitting said property to be used for business services 2, that's Roman numeral 2, purposes, automotive towing services, and making said permit subject to certain conditions and restrictions. Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As previously stated, this request is for a conditional use permit to allow the business services, Roman numeral 2, to allow for towing services for an approximate 1.3 acre tract. The approximate location is 2814 Memorial Boulevard. Right now, currently on the site, there is a structure that they plan on using for the proposed towing services, and they plan on using the site as is. I believe that from talking to the applicant and from Planning and Zoning Commission, I do believe that they will be doing some landscaping and making sure that they're meeting all requirements as mandated in the zoning code. Staff did mail out 20 notices to all property owners within 200 feet. 0 came back in favor, 0 in opposition. We received no phone calls relating to this item on the agenda. The subject properties surrounding the land uses surrounding the subject property are similarly zoned. The uses are very similar as well. There's various vehicle sales, professional office, automotive repair surrounding this existing use. The existing E31 zoning district and proposed conditional use is consistent with the surrounding area. This area has been established as a commercial mixed-use corridor. The uses in the area range in intensity from professional office to auto body repair shops, as previously mentioned. The proposed conditional use will not increase traffic or alter traffic patterns in the surrounding area. The surrounding area will be impacted minimally due to the proposed uses. The existing conditions of the site will be minimally changed or altered. Future growth or alterations on the site beyond the submitted site plan that you received in your packets will require the property owner to amend the conditional use permit through a public hearing process before the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council, as we're going through today. Staff's found no indication of likely adverse effects on the public health, safety, or welfare of the community. We do recommend approval with the stated conditions in your staff report that is also included in your agenda bill. Once again, I want to put an emphasis that this is for a towing service. This will not be for a salvage yard or for a wrecking yard. It's for when the applicant goes and picks up a vehicle, they keep it there for what's allowed by state regulations, and then they either they sell the vehicle or turn it over to another entity. We do recommend approval. This does require a public hearing and one reading of the resolution. Thank you.
Could you go back 3 pictures, please?
I'd be more than happy to.
One more. There's another one on the subject property that shows the roof a little bit better. That one. Is that a brown roof or a rusted roof?
That most likely would be a rusted roof.
Rusted?
Talking to the applicant.
Is it in good shape, other than rust?
They would be required to meet all permit requirements. I mean, the building
Okay.
would have to be brought up to
Just
code.
want to make sure that
Right, and they would have to
when
meet
we're
all.
doing things new like this, that we improve the beauty of Kerrville.
And they would be required to meet all screening regulations as mandated by code as well.
Thank you.
Trent, did they address the hours of operation if it's a towing business?
The hours of operation generally, I would assume would be 24 hours a day, especially because it is a towing service. Especially with that'd be more of a question for the applicant themselves. But staff doesn't recommend hours of operation due to the nature of the business.
Yeah, I just wondered if it was mentioned to the people in surrounding areas, that's all.
There's no residential property next to it, or?
The only residential property that staff could even, from driving around and from doing a site land use analysis, is to the north, sorry, just gonna get to the last page.
It's on your map in your packet. Yeah, in your packet.
Yeah, I know it's in the packet.
Apologize, 1 second. The only surrounding residential uses would be to the northeast of the subject property and most possibly to the northwest in that corner. Once again, the type B screening requirements would be required in that area. Right now it's heavily vegetated there is a fence there, but also there's various trees, shrubs, creating a screen.
Okay.
But they would be required to maintain that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other question by council? Having heard none, I hereby open a public hearing for this this resolution number 10-2016. Is there any citizen who'd like to be heard on this item 4A? Any citizen like to be heard on resolution number 10-2016? Having heard none, the public hearing is hereby closed. I'm looking for a motion to approve as presented by city.
So moved?
Do you have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Do you have a motion and a second? Any discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item 5A, ordinance number 2016-06, and annexing approximately 194.79 acre tract of land into the city of Kerrville, Texas, and extending the boundary limits of the city to include the property within the city limits. Said property generally located south of and adjacent to State Highway 27 and between Oakway Street and Split Rock Road. Said tract out of the Williams Watt survey number 69, abstract number 367, and the W.T. Croc survey number 70, abstract number 113, Kerr County, Texas, said tract located adjacent to the corporate limits of the city of Kerrville, Texas, and more commonly known as 337 Split Rock Road. Further, describing the territory to be annexed, adopting a service plan for the territory annexed, and establishing the zoning for the area annexed as R1, single-family residential, in accordance with the city's comprehensive plan. Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the second reading of the ordinance. We previously had the required public hearings for both the annexation and the zoning case. We have met all state and local requirements as mandated by codes. Nothing has changed from the last time I presented to council. I'm here basically if you have any additional questions regarding the second reading of the ordinance.
Any questions by council?
Are we going to go into executive session
Yeah,
on
we
this
are,
one?
but I'm gonna have a public. We go.
Let Gary talk.
Phyllis. Gary, I have a request from you to talk on this item. Why don't you step up to the podium, state your name and address, please? So you can talk during the public hearing.
You don't have to have one.
Garrett Harmon, 701 Lee Street. I do have a couple of questions on the zoning classification for this property. Before I ask those, I'm going to briefly explain why I'm here and why I'm asking. I'm a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. This property was brought before us on March 17th with an R1, which is residential single-family designation. The commission unanimously felt that a single-family residential zoning wasn't appropriate for this property given its current land use. The commission directed city staff to come back with an alternative zoning classification that would be more appropriate for that piece of property and its current land use. City staff did not come back to the commission with any alternative zoning classifications. City council then moved forward with annexation procedures with a single-family residential zoning classification. I just wanted to be clear that Planning and Zoning Commission did not agree with that classification. So I have two questions based on that. Why didn't the city come back to Planning and Zoning with an alternative zoning classification? The second question is, why is the city pursuing single-family residential when there are other options for zoning that would be more appropriate for that land use?
Was there any discussion in your committee about a district overlay?
There was not.
Okay. I'm gonna call on somebody from staff to answer his question. Todd, Mike, your choice.
Well, Planning and Zoning Commission is the recommending body to City Council, and so the Planning and Zoning Commission isn't a binding decision. So the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation was presented to Council as the follow-up. So the way the process works is zoning petition's there, it's presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission for consideration and recommendation to City Council, and then that recommendation is to Council for their consideration. And with regard to other options being presented, again, Council's direction was to proceed forward with annexation, and pursuant to city policy and city regulations, the R1 zoning is the appropriate zoning classification for this property.
A couple things. We didn't recommend a zoning classification for City Council. Me and other planning and zoning commissioners feel like we were bypassed. If we were required to determine a zoning classification that night at that meeting, why weren't we told that? Whenever we we discussed the option of R1. No one agreed that that was appropriate. If we were supposed to come up with some zoning classification to present to City Council, that was not relayed to us. We were looking for something else instead. And as far as an appropriate zoning would go, the comprehensive plan does allow for a, let me get the wording correct here from the comprehensive plan. Under future land use definitions, under rural undeveloped, land that is current and future is undefined, but when annexed through the city is zoned at the most restrictive zoning or zoning applicable to the immediate planned use. The commission felt that single-family residential, given the current circumstances around this property, was not an appropriate zoning classification. Felt that there should be some other zoning classification considered, seeing how this property is already being developed and already being used.
Yeah, this classification, if I understand correctly, won't stop them from their activities, but it'll travel with the property for long-term use.
Yes,
So
whenever they are done mining, we're
Yeah.
expected to put single-family housing back in there.
Well, I mean, it won't slow down their business, but
No.
it'll stay with the property, is the way I understand it.
Correct.
I would like to add to what Mr. Harmon said, though, because I had some confusion as well. I went back to review the meeting from March 22nd and our discussion there, and it was quite lengthy, but unfortunately it was missing due to technical difficulties, so we tried to reconstruct from notes. But I actually realized, because I was liaison to P&Z at that 17th meeting, and I realized in a little investigation that the notice was actually sent to the newspaper the day before P&Z met and a week before council met, designating the zoning as R1. I don't know if that's a fatal flaw in the process or not, but I don't know if that's the case why P&Z or council met. I did ask on March the 22nd why we did not take a vote, and the mayor said we didn't need a vote, but our agenda bill called for consideration and action, which I presumed was to designate the zoning, and I made that comment at that time. We did not do that, and in fact it was not done until the next meeting. So I don't know if that's a fatal flaw in the process, but it certainly, I understand your confusion, and I sort of dwelt there myself. We designated it in the public announcement in the newspaper before you even met to discuss the zoning. So I actually suggested the 22nd that we look at a quarry designation, and we didn't have a vote, so it just passed over.
Point of clarification. Publisher's affidavit shows that on March 2nd, 2016, there was a public notice published, and that did state that City Council would meet on March 22nd, and it did say that the Planning and Zoning Commission would meet on the 17th. So that came out a full 15 days prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So that meets our zoning notification processes. In addition to that, we have the other public hearing notices which were advertised for the zoning as well as for the annexation that City Council was considering. So again, we've got affidavits
Yeah, the
showing,
notices were posted.
showing that these
Yeah.
postings were done according to statute,
They were.
according to zoning, and according to the annexation
Yeah,
processes.
they were published timely. It's just that they were sent to be published before Planning and Zoning met to establish a zoning as
No,
R1.
Again, on March the 2nd, the public notice was provided for the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the 17th. We have to send a notice to the newspaper in advance of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Right.
That's required by state law. It's required by zoning code.
I understand.
So we have met the notification requirements. So if we waited to provide notice on the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the annexation, then we wouldn't have been in compliance with the notification procedures.
Once again, our city staff has done an excellent job of keeping us straight, on target, and up to date. Thank you, Todd. Do I have a motion to go into executive session on this item only?
And then we'll go back on the other item, go back into executive session on the other item later,
On which item is that?
the River Trail.
Yeah, we'll do that after
Okay.
everything else.
All right, I move we go into executive session under section 551.071 of the government code.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council is in recess at 6:40 p.m. We're going into executive session on the annexation portion of the agenda. We'll be back out shortly, but please bear with us, and thank you for your patience. Request for somebody to speak on this item. Alicia,
Knockenhauer.
state your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Alicia Knockenhauer. I'm Regional Environmental Manager for Martin Marietta, 807 Peg Oak, San Antonio, Texas. I just wanted to take an opportunity to address Council and Mr. Mayor tonight. One, I just wanted to, once again, just reiterate that Martin Marietta would prefer not to go down the annexation path, that we prefer to go the development agreement, which is an alternative to the annexation, and a potential litigation process. And I know Council we've been working together with the Mayor, with Todd, and to put together a collaborative agreement, development agreement that addresses the concerns of the city, as well as allows us some flexibility in our operations. We feel it's a very good agreement that addresses both sides' interests and so I know that Council has been able to see the draft. So I just wanted to express once again our support for that and to allow Council to ask any questions if they have any.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let the record reflect that Council has had the required second reading of the ordinance. Therefore, I make a motion to adopt item 5A on the agenda, which is ordinance number 2016-06. Therefore, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Stephen, I need you to vote one way or the other.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion carries 3-2. Item 5B, ordinance number 2016-03, repealing ordinance number 2010-22, which created a planned development district for the approximate 1.2 acre tract of land, being lots 3 through 8, inclusive block 27 of the J.A. Tybee addition, a subdivision within the city of Kerrville, Texas, and otherwise known as 1001 Jefferson Street. Said property to return to the RT Residential Transition Zoning District. Trent?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. The requested zoning for this is the second reading of the ordinance, and no public hearing is required. There have been no changes since the last time we met at City Council. This was voted both at Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council unanimously to approve the proposed zoning change to RT Residential Transition District. Once again, staff mailed out 26 notices to all property owners. 0 came back in favor, or 1 came back in favor. 0 came back in opposition. We did receive many phone calls that are in favor of this zoning change request. Everyone I talked to felt this was going to be a huge benefit to the community and a huge impact on positive growth. Once again, no public hearing is required, and this is the second reading of the ordinance. I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of council? Having none, heard none, let the record reflect that the required second reading has occurred. And I need a motion to adopt ordinance number 2016-03 as presented. So moved. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I have a comment rather than discussion. This piece of property is a valuable piece of property from a historical point of view. It used to be called, or I guess it still is, the Jefferson Street Cafe, formerly known as the Yellow Ribbon, for those of you old enough to remember that. And I'm glad to see somebody step forward and rehab this property, but it won't be rehab for business, it'll be rehab for a residential use. Is that correct?
He just left. Yes.
Todd?
Yes, that's
Okay. Trent's left, so I had to go to you. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item 6A, participation in construction of the road to Hangar 19 and paving of apron and taxiway at the Kerrville, Kerr County Airport. Bruce? Let the record reflect that Bruce McKenzie is the airport manager
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
and recognized as airport manager of the year or something close to that.
Thank you. The first item I'd like to address is the 6A item is about Building 19 at the airport. It's on the west side of the airport. It used to be Mooney's old paint hangar. We would like to utilize that building to store aircraft. We are sorely in need of more aircraft storage. Actually, we have none. We still have a waiting list for many airplanes. And we want to use this as a revenue generator, but in order for that to happen, we needed to build a road to that off of Peterson Farm Road. And yesterday, the Commissioners Court agreed to build the road to this 600-foot road to the building for us. And our request, the board's request to the city is if you would pave the apron around that 10,000 square foot building. It's paved already, it just needs an overlay. It's not like we've got to go in and build a parking lot, it's there. It just needs to make it functional, we need to overlay it. And aesthetically, it'll look a lot better as well. And to pave about a 250-foot taxiway that's adjacent to that so we can get aircraft into that area. That way we can lease that out for about $17,000 a year. We can store 4 airplanes in there. And I've still got 15 on a waiting list. He seems to never go away, so that's good. But we need to generate some more revenue in an effort to make our airport revenue neutral, which I'll go into a little bit more on our budget item. But our request is that you would use the city labor and equipment to do that little bit of paving for us out there. And it doesn't have to be done until after October the 1st. We know that the city's going into their paving season. This is not anything that has to happen right now. It's not a bang-bang situation. But if we could just, we respectfully request that you could pave that for us when it's convenient.
When you, is there a time frame on this?
No, you can do it after 1 October when the new budget year starts and the paving season's over and where things calm down.
Can you compare what you're asking the city to do compared to what you're asking the county to do?
Yeah, we're asking the county to build, not pave. They're going to have to build about a 650-foot road, cross a little creek, which is going to take some construction and some engineering, put the base material in, then prime it. Then they are equipped, as you well know, with the chip spreader. They'll do the double course penetration with trap rock on that road. It's probably a $30,000 job. Just their part of it. And I don't know what your labor and equipment is to lay 400 tons. I don't know what.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you asking for the pavement to be 650 feet?
The road, the new road, yes.
Yes. Plus the apron overlay.
No, you don't have to, you're not doing the road.
Or the runway, whatever.
Just the taxiway's about 250
I'm sorry.
feet long, yes. And that we don't need to build the taxiway. The taxiway's there. We need to do a little work on it to prep it, and then we need to lay the hot mix on it.
Okay.
And the city has the lay-down machine, and the county doesn't. So that's our request.
Todd, do you have any idea how much it would cost the city for 650 feet of pavement?
And we're buying the material. We're buying
You're
all
buying the material.
We're buying all the hot mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I say
that's about a $30,000 pop. The hot mix is, and that's on us.
Okay, so then we're close to a pretty equal deal.
Well, and what I would suggest is we look at whether, timing and other capabilities for us to lay it down, and because our party probably should still be our road paving and road rehabilitation. If we want to do this, we'd like the option to be able to look at contracting this out, like we had done some of the paving projects out there. So,
because if like you said, if we wait till October and you're okay with that.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is then we're into the non-paving months. So can it go beyond October into, say, April next year?
Yes, sir, and yes, sir, it can.
Okay, that's my question.
Yes, sir, it can, absolutely.
Or one other option would be, and depending on how quickly we can get out there, if we had some remaining funds this year through some of our other savings to allocate those over to get this project done even this year if we can, would be ideal. So,
I'd be in favor of that.
But we don't want to, we realize you're going into the busy season, and we don't want to.
well, and we could contract that out. We could make that happen. It's a small project.
There's no pressure on this, we just want to.
I know this next question is gonna get into the next agenda item, but I've gotta bring it up now. And that is that when I became mayor, there's about $400,000.
It's over 400,000.
Over $400,000
Yes, sir.
being funded by the city and the county for the airport each year. And now we're down to about $30,000.
That's correct, and it's going to be down to 21 when I present
I know
this.
that, and so I'm not trying to steal your thunder here. I used the 30, not your number, okay? So 30 was this last year. So we've completely reduced the operation of the airport through Bruce and the airport board's efforts, so that the city and county is only contributing up to this last year $30,000.
$35,000 apiece.
Yeah, and so therefore, we are approaching the goal of being self-sufficient.
That's correct.
And so, having said that, now I'm back to using the money, because we haven't had to put out that big, heavy load of cash
Right.
to fund the airport, so you guys have done a good job.
Well, it's a credit goes to the airport board. We have a board member here, Kurt Griffin. The board's been diligent the last 6 years. We've taken it down from $500,000 down to 35,000, and we're getting close.
Yeah.
We work on it every day.
And another 12 units, another 12 T hangers, and we'll be there.
We're over the top.
That's right, okay? Right,
I'll-
Kurt? Yes, sir. All right. We've been pushing for that second 12, so we'll get there, hopefully.
And getting us in this hangar, let us store airplanes in there, will get us $17,000 closer to it as well, so it'll help.
Okay. Any other questions by council? Having heard none, I have a motion to approve the agenda item that we just talked about.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve agenda item 18 for the city participating in the paving of approximately 650 feet plus.
No.
No.
Just pave around the apron of the
And the
10,000 square
taxiway.
foot building. The county's gonna pave the road. We just need you to overlay,
Just overlay?
yeah, just overlay around the building.
Then I'll rephrase it. I have a motion to approve agenda item 6A is presented.
And a taxiway, yeah.
As Bruce presented, yes. I move that we do that.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
You're up next for item 6B, consideration of the fiscal year 2016-17 Kerrville, Kirk County Airport budget.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We've already talked about that briefly, but we have a $397,000 budget this year. The contributions from both the owners last year was $35,000 each. Now we're down to $21,000. That's a 27% decrease from last year to this year. With this new hangar we just talked about, that will help. We have another building we think we're going to be able to lease shortly that should generate around $20,000 a year. So if is a big word, but should this happen, then next year maybe we can come back to you with just presenting the budget and not ask for any money. That's our goal. But with that being said, and the mayor's been involved in this budget process since we started talking about it back in February. So,
Or since we started talking 4 years ago.
well, a long time ago, but this particular fiscal year budget, the mayor's helped us with that as well. But that's our budget, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But otherwise, we would respectfully request that that this body, the city council, approve our FY17 airport budget.
And Todd, would I be correct to say that we've already budgeted this in our, we've anticipated this in the budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll make sure how to word that. Okay. Any questions by council?
Bruce,
Yes, sir.
good job.
Thank you, sir. I
Very good
appreciate it.
job.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And therefore, do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2016-17 Kerrville, Kirk County Airport budget? as
So
presented?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce.
Item 6C, text amendments to the city's zoning code and building codes regarding the use of temporary structures, including construction trailers, recreational vehicles. Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff has been approached multiple times by various residents to amend the current zoning code and the building code. The possible text amendments would address the location of temporary construction trailers. You usually see those trailers that store equipment for certain sites to be developed. Our code currently states that the trailer has to be located on the same lot that the construction is taking place. They're requesting that we change that to allow it within. I guess that's something for you to address as council, if you want to change allowing them to locate in different locations for a longer period of time. Also, we're getting a lot of requests for. I apologize. We're getting a lot of requests considering recreational vehicles and the locations of them. Right now, how the code is written, it's pretty muddy of how it is. It's not very clear, and this would be something that we would suggest that council look at and direct staff to be able to do some possible text amendments. I can definitely answer questions. There is a process for the building code and the zoning code to come before you. The zoning code will be required to go before Planning and Zoning Commission first, and then on to you, City Council, just as any zoning amendment is required. The building code would just be required to go before City Council for consideration. And I'm here if you have any additional questions.
Okay.
But we're just seeking for direction from council.
Sure. Trent, do you have recommendations on this?
Right now?
Yeah.
It's a pretty low question. I mean, it's definitely something that needs to be looked into from staff's perspective, especially the travel recreational vehicles. That is something that has been an item among staff and the public where we've been trying to define, and we want something concise, something that we can go to the code and say, these are your legal requirements, A, B, and C.
Let me ask you this. Are you looking for a motion tonight, or are you looking for direction?
We're looking for direction
All right.
of what you want staff to do.
Okay.
Mayor, if I can help clarify maybe a little bit of it. And a specific example of the temporary construction is Habitat for Humanity, where they've got smaller lots, they've got volunteers that come in to do that work. The way that we're set up, you have to move the temporary construction to the actual construction lot. The lots aren't big enough to be able to handle the storage that they need. So that is an issue, and so right now they do struggle with that because they need to move that equipment over for the volunteers.
And this came up this year with Habitat for Humanity because they're building homes further down from the building,
Yes.
and it causes some problems for them, and this basically corrects that.
Yes,
Right, it sure is, because right now they're having to go to storage and then bring it across the subdivision now into a whole new phase.
Which is considerable amount of labor.
Exactly, and when you're getting volunteers in, at 6 in the morning, they're wanting to get started, not to have to move equipment over, so. And then on the recreational vehicles, there is an issue, and from time to time, we do have complaints that'll crop up with regard to an RV being placed on a piece of property, being connected to utilities and people residing there, maybe for a period of time, or shorter to longer. And so that is an issue that we do come up against time to time. So really need to look at that provision. Typically, some of the things that you look at is RV owners bringing their units over to prep them for trips and those types of things. And so, a lot of communities do create ordinances that try to look at how long a recreational vehicle can be located on certain parts of the property. If you have a cover and you have a place to park it permanently, that's one issue. If you're bringing it in, prepping it, and it's on the street or it's in the front yard and it's a nuisance to the neighbor, that's another issue. So those are really the types of issues that we would look to try to delve into and come back with some thoughts for you.
Well, I think those issues are concerns for all citizens, particularly the last one you mentioned. but also want to make sure that we don't cause anybody to, we want to work with nonprofits, companies in the system and doing their business, whatever they're doing. And I think that if there's no objection from council's directing you to clean this up and come back to us with a recommendation.
I have a question. Have we looked at the zoning ordinance input committee's version of these codes? What they've looked at?
I don't think they would have addressed these particular issues.
Okay.
So these are kind of unique spots that weren't part of the global zoning question.
Okay.
This is not really changing. This is just cleaning up some language, text stuff.
Okay.
All right. You got your direction if there's no objection from council. Okay, have none? Budget and economic update, Sandra?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the report ending March 31st, which is 50% of our fiscal year. In the general fund for the month, we had $1,487,811. Our year-to-date was $16,131,392. On our expenditures, we had $1,675,484. Our year-to-date expenditures was $11,262,406. In the water and sewer fund, our revenue for the month was $855,270. Our year-to-date revenue is $5,513,586, with our expenditures being $794,389, with our year-to-date expenditures of being $5,423,13. And you'll see our water revenue is definitely up this year over last year, even with all our rain. Our hotel motel fund, we had revenue of $71,635. Our year-to-date was $460,218. Our expenditures for the month was $4,500. Our year-to-date was $457,600. On the next one is our community investment plan. This gives you an overview of our most current projects, and some of those are starting to wind down, so we'll start seeing some of those move out pretty soon. Then on the economic update, we have our new permits issued. We have for the month on residential 4, on commercial 2, making our year-to-date of residential 43, and commercial 2. You'll see our unemployment is holding steady. It's below state and national levels.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to see our local unemployment.
Yes, sir.
Just a lot better than the state of the national.
Unless you're a company trying to hire.
For the city, I'd rather have it this way.
Yeah, I agree.
Christine?
I just wanted to point out something that you're going to see probably a change on the way that we report on commercial, where you're only seeing 2 permits pulled for the entire year. These are only accounting for brand new ground up commercial. What this does not account for is the reusing of a business that changes some sort of occupancy and that does any type of remodel. And we really consider that a new commercial, not just a remodel. And so we're working with finance right now out of the building department to be able to give you a more accurate picture of what your commercial will look like moving forward, so it isn't just those ground up constructions.
That's good, because when you have companies growing in there, filing for permits, we don't really get a true picture.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Sandra. Any items, council, for future agendas? Having heard none, I have a couple announcements. Just a reminder that it is a violation of state law to tamper with campaign signs. This includes defacing, vandalizing, and tampering with or removing a lawfully placed sign prior to the election without permission from the candidate. Excuse me. Everyone is encouraged to be fair with all candidates and respect political signage. If you see or know of someone tampering with signs, please report the offender and their license plate number, if applicable, to the Kerrville Police Department at 257-8181. Speaking of the police department, the Kerrville Police Department is accepting applications for the next Junior Citizen Police Academy for children ages 11 through 14. This, and I guess I gotta end on that by saying 11 to 14 years of age. This free academy is a great experience which motivates young adults to be outstanding citizens through law enforcement education and gives a behind-the-scenes look at a working police department, the finest in the state, the Kerrville Police Department. Applicants must live within Kerr County, entering into the 6th, 7th, or 8th grade in September this year, either attending a school within Kerr County, Kerrville ISD, or participating in a homeschool program. Application packets are available at the front lobby reception desk or at the Kerrville Police Department, and applications will be accepted through April 29th. So that date is almost upon us. The academy will be held June 6th through the 16th. Another note for the Kerrville Police Department, they will be hosting the Got Drugs event again on April 30th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Kerrville Police Department. So bring your unwanted and unused prescription drugs or over-the-counter medications to this event to be disposed of safely. And I repeat, please do not flush them down your toilets. They go into our water treatment facility. Registration for summer swim lessons at the Olympic Pool begins May 1st. At the City of Kerrville Parks and Recreation Department, 3 sessions of group swim lesson classes will be offered again this summer. This is a great way to introduce your infant to the water, learn basic swimming techniques, or refine skills as classes are offered for all level types from beginner to advanced. Each 2-week session runs Tuesday through Friday for 2 weeks and is only $35. And for more information, please contact the Kerrville Parks and Recreation Department. I do not have this, but Ashley, are we okay on lifeguards, or we got the lifeguard positions filled?
We are still accepting applications for lifeguards.
Okay, I want to make sure in case we need to do that. So we are accepting applications now for lifeguards, and if I remember correctly, that's $10. Is that? $8.75. $8.75. Ooh, didn't give a rate. $10 an hour.
$8.75.
I mean, $8.75. Thank you. I still got it.
Thank you.
$8.75 an hour. And you want to apply? What's the cost? I know they get reimbursed, but what's the cost of getting the license?
About $130.
$130, but the student, if you're listening or printing in the paper, they get reimbursed at the end of the season if they fulfill their obligation as lifeguard through the summer. Okay, did I get that correct? Thank you. Any other further announcements?
I think it's worth noting that we all need to keep Missy Pratt in our thoughts and prayers as she traveled to Houston for a scheduled checkup.
She is at MD Anderson undergoing test as we speak. Any other announcements?
Mayor?
I know you got one, Brenda.
I got one. Okay, I'm just reminding everyone that we have early voting by personal appearance going on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week, Monday, Tuesday next week. The hours are 8 to 5. And then Saturday, May 7th, next Saturday is Election Day at the Callow Theater, 7 to 7.
Okay, any further announcements?
Yes, sir. As we know, Ashley's been promoting up into organization and is being groomed to take over Parks and Recreation Department. So we've had a vacancy in our special projects manager position. And please welcome Caitlin Berry. She came to us from Kansas. And so she said she came where the real beef is, down here in Texas. So
Caitlin, stand up and be recognized. Okay, I move that we go into executive session under sections 551.071 and 072 and section 55, well, that's it.
Yeah. And Mayor, let me make a notation of a change. The Stoddard case is actually in the 216th, and the cause number is 131160A. But I recommend that we go into executive session under those two items, under
Yeah,
the section.
the motion doesn't affect
Yeah.
that, so
Right.
we're okay there.
Right.
Okay?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion, Gene, did you raise your hand? Yeah. Motion carries unanimously. Let the record reflect at 7:36 p.m. City Council is being recessed and going into executive session. Want to thank all of you for coming. And if you want to stay around, fine, but I don't think that you want to do that. You're certainly welcome to, though. Thank you for coming. Let the record reflect that City Council is out of executive session at 8:05 p.m. There was no action taken, and therefore City Council is adjourned at 8:05 p.m.